Good morning, everybody. This is Kane Roselle over at Hourglass Life Coaching with another video. And this is about the importance of sharing our lived experiences. I was on a call this morning that was really amazing because the people that were speaking were talking about the trials and tribulations that they've had in life and just how hard they really did have it. And by all measures of what we think it takes for a person to have a good upbringing if they're ever going to be successful, these people did not have it. And so it reminded me actually of a story that was really powerful I heard once. And it's about this man that walks into a garden, and he's lucky enough to see this butterfly trying to emerge from its cocoon, its chrysalis. And so he has this idea that he's going to help this butterfly get out of its chrysalis because he can see that it's really struggling a lot. So he takes out a little knife that he's got, just happens to have it with him, I guess, and he cuts an opening into this chrysalis. So the butterfly does truly emerge, but unfortunately it falls to the ground and it dies. And it would seem that the chrysalis and the struggle within was absolutely essential for this creature to come out and grow. It actually needed the newfound strength to pull itself out in order to get it to its next level of emergence. And so I just want to remind everybody here the two things. One, share your story, but not in a way that's all about you and you want sympathy and blah, blah, blah. Like, you got to really make sure that if you're sharing something, you're doing it for other people, right? The universe cares about you. It wants you to be happy. It wants you to grow, but it cares about other people. It's interesting that for all of our beautiful ideas and our strong desire to do things and achieve things for ourselves, as a species, we are strongest together. So sharing your story so that others can benefit is an absolutely powerful thing that you can do. And the second thing is that in sharing your story, but also hearing the stories of other people, you can learn that you don't need everything to be perfect for you to start. You don't need everything to be perfect all of your life for you to become successful. The truth is, there are trauma victims right now that have more success than they ever dreamed were possible. There are people who have had rough upbringings, maybe parents that didn't love them, maybe even parents that struggled with substance abuse or something like that. And yet here they are today. One of the stories I often tell my clients when they talk about, I'm this way because my parents were this way, is just how two siblings can come out of the same household and end up being totally different, right? Take, for example, two children that do grow up in an alcoholic family. One child grows up, never touches his stuff, and blames the parents. The other one becomes a raging alcoholic and blames the parents. So there are three ways that a child can gain experience or learn as a little person. The first one is what they see in their environment. The second one is what they hear in their environment. But thirdly is how they actually internalize what happens in their environment. And that number three, internalization, is so immensely powerful for you to remember, because there are going to be things that happen in your life, but it's the way that you relate to them. It's the power that you give them over you that ultimately predict what happens. Let's say right now, in a horrible case situation, maybe you're bankrupt and maybe you're going to lose your place to live or whatever the case is. For many people, that will sink a person. Maybe they're going to become homeless or whatever the case is. But for other people, there's so many stories. You can watch them on YouTube, Google them, where very, very successful people making millions of dollars talk about, there was a time I lived out of my car. I had ham on hand every day for lunch. I know Metallica even talks about that story. Ham on hand, that was a real thing because they couldn't afford actual meals. But aside from rock stardom, the truth is people all over the place that have what you have or less that end up doing more with their life. So I'm not undermining how difficult and grim things can look for a person, for you, the viewer right now in your life. I know there's something that you're facing that scares the crap out of you. I know there's something that you're facing that you don't want to happen. But the truth is, right? We can only focus on one thing at a time, anytime. If you try to look at the screen that's in front of you right now as you're watching me, or if you're just listening to me and you're focusing on my voice, and you try to either look at something else simultaneously, or if you try to actually listen in on something else at the same time, you'll find you can't. One of the two just becomes background. Whichever one you focus on comes to the foreground. And your mind is like that. While you're imagining things, if you're occupied thinking negative things, if you're thinking about the problem and the consequences, in that moment, you cannot think of the solution at the same time. You actually have to shift into a receptive mode for the solution to come to you. And with that, with my clients, I go through one person at a time and I give them those solutions. Like, how do you become in that mode? And that's really, even though there are blanket statements that we can use, like, yes, get into a quiet place, start to think positive thoughts, think into your past at a time when you were successful, when maybe you thought that everything was stacked against you. There are universal truths that we can give. But most of the time, I find my clients need to hear it one-on-one because they have their own story. They have their own thing that they are going through right now, right? And they need to hear this information in a one-on-one. Maybe they've tried a bunch of those things that I just mentioned and it didn't work for them. There are reasons, there are things that we can talk about to help you move through that. And so there's always a link in the description. If you want to visit my website, if you want to email me at kane@hourglasslifecoaching.com to see if we can help switch you out of this problem finding and problem living mindset into something that's actually going to bring you what you want, what you really want the problem to be over with. But going back to what I was saying in the beginning of this, sharing our lived experiences is so immensely valuable, so immensely valuable. And so talk to somebody today that you know is having a hard time. Tell them about a time when you overcame a hard time, and know that the same power that breathes life into you breathes life into them. Let them know that you know that there's a solution out there and that you believe in them. Tell them about some of their attributes that make them strong, make them unique, that make them beautiful, that make them well adapted. Help them believe in themselves by borrowing off of your belief. Listen to somebody else's story if you're in the trap right now. Find a person on YouTube that's really gone through a hard time, that talks about what it was like, that really gets gritty about it. And so you can see that, yeah, they're telling the truth. This is an authentic experience. And see how they were able to overcome their own problems and what it took to do that. And remind yourself that the same power that breathes life in them is also breathing life in you, and that you are powerful, that you are strong, that you are creative, you are intelligent, that you are well adapted, that you are beautiful, whatever. You are all of that, yes. Tune in for next time. Tell your story. Listen to a story. Be the change you want to see in the world. Take care. Thank you.